winning me and Manu, and how.
Good morning and good day. Welcome to another beautiful day out on safari from the heart of the Sabi Sands with WildEarth TV. My name is Liam Burrow. I'm the driver, or rather the naturalist in the driver's seat this morning. The man behind the lens is the legendary Drakensberg. We are out live on safari, coming to you from Djuma Private Game Reserve on what is a slightly cloudy morning this morning, but that is not going to stop us from hopefully sniffing out some exciting things to look at this morning. Before we do start to kick off our morning with a bit of tracking, I think let's just get through a little bit of housekeeping. Once again, we love to keep these drives as interactive as possible, so please feed your questions through to us as often as you can. You can do that in three ways. First and foremost, under the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You're also more than welcome to head to our channel page, register and submit your questions through the forum there. You are also welcome to send questions to us if you are under the age of 18. Send those to the email address kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. So viewers under the age of 18, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Brilliant. I think let's rock and roll. A nice fresh morning this morning. But the sun is starting to pop out now. Things are looking up. We're excited for whatever this day may hold. So as we continue to bumble now in search of anything really of interest at all, let's check out some weather and get a bit of an idea of what's going to happen today.
That weather report is a foul and contemptible untruth. There is no ways it is 20 degrees Celsius here in the Sabi Sands. It's probably closer to 61 degrees Fahrenheit. Good morning, my name is James Hendry. On camera today we've got Panda, and we are heading east along the last tracks of Tlalamba and her cubs that we had yesterday. This is exactly where we left them. Not going to make a massive effort to find them this morning. We've had such a wonderful time with them yesterday. But maybe we'll be lucky and bump into them on the road or somewhere close by. I hope that you're all very well wherever you happen to find yourselves on planet Earth today. Indeed, maybe you're at the space station watching us, and in which case you are not on planet Earth. Regardless of where you are, please do send us your questions or comments. You can do that using the hashtag WildEarth on the tweet. Alternatively, you can use kidsquestions@wildearth.tv if you are under 18. Alternatively, you can go to the website wildearth.tv and register, and there you can ask questions. That is all the administration of the morning taken care of. Let us continue. It's a chilly morning. Not freezing but chilly. There's some moisture around, which is interesting at this time of the year. They said it was going to rain yesterday, but it did not. I was very pleased about the lack of rain yesterday. And on the road, I suppose we should pay a little bit of homage to the humble crested francolin, which is now going to go off the road before we get a chance to look at it. It is. Hello, crested francolin. Crested francolin is the bird whose call we hear most frequently in the morning. I'm afraid, Safari Kitty, my radio is on the fritz and I missed that question. Hang on 1 second. All right, let's try it again. Safari Kitty. There we go. Yes, Safari Kitty, you make a good point. A beautiful day for a brand new adventure. It absolutely is. The quiet chamber music of the winter morning plays gently from all sides. Righty, we're going to go across to Chris. He's 70 kilometres to the west, so I suspect the weather is nigh on identical to what it is here. He'll tell you about that, however.
Good morning, and welcome to a very overcast and misty, drizzly Pridelands. Now, we just heard lions roar right north of us, outside of our concession area, and I'm just parked here, watching this herd of Impala to listen out if there's any other lion vocalizations. My name is Chris, and with me on Camops again today. And we heard lions throughout the night roaring north of the eco-training camp. Now, there was just one animal vocalizing now north of us. Nothing that replies to it that I can hear. Good morning, Michelle. Michelle is hoping for some elephants this morning. Michelle, we are definitely going to try and find you some elephants. We should be finding elephants. Oh, this is an enormous group of Impala. I mean, there's probably a good 20 of them at Sparst already, and already counting. Well over 40 left. So this herd is in excess of 50 animals. Very, very large group of Impala.
And coming up in first place and officially named Bilo is Heart's Cub.
Your trekking is very good. What is the starting trekking? Just trek the leopard. You walk a little bit, you stop. You starting checking. Keep your hands, your neck up. Okay, your eyes. Listen for the birds. You follow the leopard. The leopard should see you first. You lose. Talk next year.
As well as the vapor in the air, which creates a denser medium for the sound to travel through. No, it's only the one animal. The animals we heard roaring earlier was definitely more than one individual. And it sounded much closer, slightly northeast of the camp. So we're going to head that way. And see if we cannot find anything there. Okay, let's get moving. Let's get driving and see if we can find these animals. Let's get over to James, who's also out looking for animals.
Sorry, my earpiece really is not working very well. I hope you didn't hear. No, I didn't say anything bad there. That's good. What a relief. Okay, the tracks of the kitties have gone off the road. They were on the road from last night. I'm just going to circle around this way, down a road called Nyala Road South. Simply because it's quite a pretty road, really. I think they may have gone down here. We'll see what we can find. That's a little pan system down the way. You may be able to see that the sky is quite grey and cloudy. But I think that will burn off as the sun comes up. And we'll have another beautiful morning like we did yesterday. LJ, I'm sorry. Did you get that? Something is in the tube of this earpiece and making it very difficult. LJ, let's have that again, if you don't mind. Nope. Right, we won't have it again. LJ, I'm sorry I missed your comment. You said looking forward to a fantastic drive. Thank you. Let's have a look at this plant for now. A member of the genus Ocimum, I think. Ooh. And this is supposed to be the wild basil. But I've got to tell you, this time of the year, it smells like cloves. And somebody one day is going to make a lot of money from being able to transfer smell across the internet. It's the most fantastic smell. Ocimum. And this is a very big mature plant. Maybe that's why the seeds smell more clovey than they do basil-y. Righty, on we go. I'm going to get back in the car, Pando. Are you ready? Drive very slowly and gently along the edge of this drainage system, keeping an eye out. No. I'm afraid not. Freddie, I know you said something. I'm actually just going to spend a little bit of time trying to fix the situation because I cannot hear what is going on. It's very distressing. Let's have a listen to the bush while I do it. Sammy, you're going to have to give me a second. Sammy's directing. I just need a second to try and figure out what's going on with the earpiece. Let's try that again. do apologize, everyone. Okay. Hit me again, Sammy. Let's see. There we go. Hello, Freddie. What plants in the bush have got sweet scents? A lot of the flowers, Freddie, a lot of the white flowers in the bush have got very sweet scents. In fact, it's only some of the white flowers. Most of the colorful flowers don't have sweet scents, and that's because they use color rather than scent to attract their pollinating vectors or pollinators. And so it's normally the white plants, like the num-num bushes, the carissas, the jasmine, the jasminium creepers, the gardenias are delicious. So lots and lots of delicious white flowers that smell amazing out here. But otherwise, you'll find the rest of the flowers don't smell very much. Quite a few sort of aromatic plants, like that basil that's got aromatic leaves and aromatic seeds.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Here is one of the pans. Let's have a quick look around it. Totally wondering if there's any benefit for predators in these sorts of conditions. Yes, I suppose you could say that there are benefits to the predators, simply because it's still quite dark, but it's getting light now. There's no wind, so the predator conditions are slowly starting to deteriorate, I would have said, the ambush predators anyway. So a lot of algae, spirogyra, growing on top of this pan, perfectly acceptable for many animals to drink, except perhaps elephants, who tend to reject this sort of water if there are other sources available. And there are no apparently obvious tracks around here, except for one buffalo, a hyena, more buffalo. I don't want to meet the buffalo. A couple of spiders, warthog, and that is about it. There is so much water around at the moment that the animals really are not confined to drinking from one place. But we can continue. It's always good just to stop and listen at this time of the morning, because as the predators move their last, so the animals will alarm at them. Right. Apparently Liam has found himself a pile of feathers. Let's go and find out about it.
So a pile of feathers indeed, but taking a little bit of a look slightly deeper into what potentially went on here. A bit of crime scene investigation, Juma edition. You'll notice the very circular pattern in which these feathers are actually put down. I doubt very much that a bird has pulled them out itself. So, yeah, on closer investigation, I have kind of made the judgment that this is a bronze-winged courser. It's got these lovely feathers with 3 fairly distinctive tones in them. Snow white, a bit of a bronze in the middle, and then into quite a dark, almost black towards the tip. So bronze-winged courser, a little nocturnal bird that runs around on the ground. I would then presume that a nocturnal animal like a civet or a genet had killed it. That was my first thought. Pounced on it out of the bush here and plucked it and then fed on it. But we've searched all over the place around this little crime scene. Not one track for a civet or a genet. So that tells us that the predator which killed this bird didn't come from the ground. It came from the air. So my best guess is that something like a spotted eagle owl, perhaps a barn owl, landed on this little bronze-winged courser as it stood in the road, killed it probably with the impact. The prey item, this courser defecated here, probably from the shock, and was plucked to death. Feathers pulled out in these clumps, all stuck together so that that owl could get a good feed on the courser's meat, a few drops of blood droplet there. And yeah, very rapidly dispatched that little bird and left very little to waste. Talk about a crime scene indeed. Don't know if you can hear that alarm calling behind me. So that is the alarm call of an Impala. Unfortunately, it's over our boundary to the north in Buffelshoek, in an area that we don't drive, but we are quite close to the boundaries. So maybe whatever it is that these Impalas have seen is coming our way. Maybe let's get mobile.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Jackie, no, not necessarily. It's sort of one stock standard panicked call. Now the call is quite different to the sound that they make when they're rutting. The rutting often involves more of like a belching, burping, growling sound. The panic that they express when they see something like a leopard or lion is just that very nasal ch-ch. Yeah, we are still hearing some alarm calls, but unfortunately I think they are going deeper into Buffelshoek. Yeah, it may very well have been a leopard. Olivia, Impala are pretty reliable themselves. But if in doubt, vervet monkeys have phenomenal vision. They see in detail even better than ours. They've got something called stereoscopic vision. Also highly detailed color vision. So if vervet monkeys are giving you an alarm call, they're usually very reliable. You can trust what they're telling you. But Impala, kudu, inyala, all very, very sensitive species. We're just continuing to listen. That alarming is sort of dying back. I have a feeling these Impala and Franklin have lost sight of whatever it was that was frightening them. Bridget, no, we don't. The only fox-like animal that we have out here is the jackal, of which we've got two species, the black-backed and the side-striped. But the jackal is only fox-like. It isn't actually a fox specifically. South Africa is only home to one true fox species. We have a Cape fox, more towards South Africa's Cape region. There's also something called a bat-eared fox, but that's not a true fox. Yeah, that Cape fox is worth a Google if you haven't seen it. It's a gorgeous little thing. I'm going to turn around here, maybe go down towards the dip. You never know, but I have a strong feeling that if this was anything, it was a leopard, and it's gone into Buffelshoek. So let's cross over to James, who's also bumbling this morning, to see if he's had any joy with something exciting.
I'm not having any joy with anything exciting, but I'm still having much joy at the rising of the sun. We have not managed to find a mammal species of any description so far. We did have some impala and a wildebeest and some zebra on the clearings outside camp as we left camp, and we thought to ourselves, oh, you know, we're just so close to camp. Surely we will find something further away from camp, and we have not. How silly of us not to have milked that sighting. Profoundly dumb. Anyway, we shall forge on in our quest for other mammals. I shall perhaps go and visit the hyena den a little bit later, because they don't tend not to be particularly active until just after dawn, 7 o'clock-ish, I guess, maybe 7:30.
My name is Juan Pinto. I'm here for Safari Guide of the Year. I'm one of the judges. One of the categories in the competition is the walk, or the on-foot experience as you call it. And it's kind of the leveler. It's the experience that really is important for a guide to have, to be able to take people safely into the environment on a walk.
I've been fortunate to be working in the guiding industry for about 26 years now. I've also been fortunate enough to do 9 years of the 10 years as one of the judges, and the particular components that I do is the walking and the shooting exercises. If you're the winner, if you're going to be the winner, it's important to become an ambassador for the field guide industry and competitors in the future.
Here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Can you believe it? We are going to look at the grass. This is turpentine grass, Cymbopogon excavatus, or Cymbopogon excavatus, depending on how you like to say it. And it is called turpentine grass because, Panda, it smells like? It smells like? It's called turpentine grass, so it smells like? There we go, just like turpentine, exactly. What you have to do to get that smell is to rub the inflorescence in your hands, inhale deeply, and you should get the smell of turpentine. I think this turpentine grass is actually so old that it's unable to produce any turpentine. And we were asked a question the other day about what grasses are good for grazing and whether they're all the same. And this is a particularly unpalatable grass because the leaves probably also have a twang of turpentine in them and they don't have much protein. So turpentine grass is not a good grazing grass. Justine, you want to know how many grass species there are at Djuma? I don't think anyone's ever counted, actually, but I would say in the region of 60 species, 50 to 60 species, I would guess, at a push. Maybe as few as 30 or 40, but I think probably up to 60. Excellent. I hope you all enjoyed that grass segment thoroughly, and I'm going to give you a bonus section of this grass segment. I know it's too much. I am too good to you. But here I'm going to give you a bonus section. This is the grass Panicum maximum, or Guinea grass, and it is normally only in this sort of state in summer after the rain, but obviously there's been some late rain, and you can see that it's put up a new inflorescence, and the end of the seeds are covered in a sugary substance, which I'm sure is designed or is produced to attract vectors, and I'm not sure what vectors, perhaps mammals, but maybe even ants that might come up and take the sugar in and in return do a little bit of pollination. It's quite sweet and tasty. Here you are, Panda, you can taste that. And you want to know which kind of grass corkscrews into the ground? It's this grass here, Diheteropogon contortus. What do you think, Panda? Is it delicious? Yes, you'd have to eat probably a hectare of them. It's this grass, Diheteropogon contortus, or spear grass. And it looks like this. It looks like that when it's got rid of its orms and seeds.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But we want to let you know that we hear you. You can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more.
The sun has come up, finally, and I'm hoping that by the time we find our first gorgeous mammal, it'll be casting a golden light on it, so that I may take some photographs. Beautiful. Hello, June. You're interested in what kind of grass grows around termite mounds? It's a good question. Various grasses. That grass that I showed you on my first morning, Bothria cloa in sculptor, likes to grow around termite mounds. The beautifully named Chloris roxburgiana, or feathered chloris, likes to live around termite mounds. And some of the Eurocloa species, or signal grasses, those are probably the main ones that like to grow around termite mounds. Termite mound grasses are normally pretty nutritious because the soils around termite mounds are pretty nutritious on account of the termites, which are very good at making nutritious soils. We're now turning south down a road called Drakensberg Road, so named because from here on a clear day you have a wonderful view of the Drakensberg Mountains. Today all we can see is clouds, I'm afraid. I do hope this cloud clears up slightly, otherwise we're in for a chilly morning. Again, I must just say that when I say chilly, I don't mean chilly in the same way that parts of Canada or Siberia or Chile or Minnesota or indeed Chile. Chile is much chillier than here. What with it extending so much further south. Come on now, surely there must be something of interest around here. Maybe a stand of Chloris roxburgiana. We'll check out some tracks here. I haven't been down this road since I've been back, so we'll go down here. This is Bateleur Road. Many a time we saw Tandi and in fact Mariupse over here on kills. Normally a poor diker met their ends. A little flock of arrow-marked babblers. Let's see if we can have a look at them. Oh, don't fly away. You got them. Let's see. They were in that tree. The one you're in the, yeah. Let's zoom in there. It's a little flock of arrow-marked babblers, a communal nesting and breeding species that likes to fly around babbling at each other. Just have another listen. Can hear some drongos. Can hear a woodpecker. I can hear Liam shouting at Gerrit. And then there's a Swainson's spurfowl. its bright red, beautiful face on the ground there. I can hear Wendy and her aging parts grinding over the bush. Lovely sounds. Amy, it's very, very difficult to attribute any changes out here to climate change. I think that, in such a small area, we might say that the slightly strange rain patterns have got to do with climate change, but they might not. We do suspect that climate change will result in a thickening of the bush, because the increased heat will make it difficult for grasses, and reduced water will also make it difficult for grasses, and increased concentrations of CO2 will favour woody plant growth over herbaceous plant growth. But again, that's kind of in theory. So I think that if you look at long-term trends in an area like this, you may find that over a 20-year period, the average rainfall has started to drop slowly. And that's the great danger for southern Africa, is that climate change will result in a much drier area, which is going to make it very difficult for us to collect enough water for human consumption and then grow enough food for humans to eat, as our population shows absolutely no sign of slowing down its growth. So, very difficult to say out here what's happening with climate change, because it's kind of on a micro level, such a tiny piece of land. But a good question, and something to keep monitoring and keep observing and keep thinking about. Right, our Swainson's Franklin has absconded into the thick bushes, and we will carry on. Let me get my pillow out the way so I can look at you. I didn't realise how enormous the hood of this jacket was when I bought it. It's very warm, but it's not ideal for this sort of thing. Alrighty, let's go back across to the great cheetah tracker himself at Pridelands and see if he's had any luck with tracks today.
So we've established those lions are definitely north of our boundary. We've stood by on the northern boundary, just north of HQ, and we got a few audios of two different individuals. Can't tell you whether they're male or female, but they were definitely far north of us. No chance of viewing them at the moment, so it's no use staying in that area. So now we're taking a new area. I was going to move along the hillsides back to Leopard Dam and do a bit of a loop around the north again, and then we'll probably head towards Ndlovu Dam, that area there. See if there's no elephants around there. We were planning to walk around a bit, however, there is some weather predicted to come in. We can see it is dark and overcast. It did rain a little bit last night, not too much. Only thing is I want to leave it for a bit later, because if we move out walking, we might be caught in some rain off the vehicle.
WildEarth have really inspired me to return to South Africa after having followed so many beautiful characters. This Ticket to Dream has given me a great opportunity to meet the WildEarth team, which I thank. They're all amazing. I love all of the characters, but I do have a particular passion for leopards. It's a dream, and as I said before, I just keep on pinching myself. Am I really here?
relative subject. Very relative subject, what animal's the most difficult, because you know, tracking something like a beetle is going to be near impossible at times. But would there be a reason to track it? So one also has to look at what animals are we likely to track and for what reason. So for tourism purposes, it's usually the big five, and then cheetah, wild dog as well. Those are the things we often try and track in order to view them. But you might find yourself as an ecological worker or environmental manager or something, and there might be a reason to track. Maybe it might be an endangered animal that you want to treat, like a roan antelope or something like that, or like we did in the Kalahari with the pangolins and the aardvarks. You know, we did for research purposes. Other than that, where we are and what we do here, we're unlikely to track things like I'm not sure what to put down, like random antelope. You're not going to track Impala. They can also be difficult to track, you know. So it's all about where they move. If they move in an open area with good soil, good sand, with prints and signs are visible, it's an easy job. They start heading into this, not so easy anymore. And with that I refer to by tracking on foot. Because sometimes you have to track on foot because you can't always go with the vehicle. You don't want to do unnecessary off-roading. So therefore tracking by vehicle is limited to the road. Once animals move off and you are able to do that, let's say your permissions allow you in the reserve you operate, you go on foot and you track it. In fact, the majority of the reserves where I worked, we could only go off-road for confirmed big game sightings. So animals were to be tracked on foot. Once found by the trackers or yourself, if you don't have a tracker, then you can move in with the vehicle. So in order to limit off-road driving, that's why, for instance, if I see a group of elephant bulls or one elephant bull in the distance far away, you know, and the terrain allows it, you know, the conditions allow it, I'd rather try and move in on foot rather than going off when you don't need to with the vehicle. Good morning, Debbie. Wants to know if tracking becomes more intuitive as you become more experienced. Absolutely. You know, some people are just naturally gifted with that intuition as to where tracks go. What I have found is people who've not grown up in the bush, when they start, we take our students here, as well as new guides who've just trained not only here, but I found that guys who have not lived in the bush, have not grown up with tracking, tends to be more systematic or systemic when we have, or basic, you know, basic and systemic tracking, where you physically want to find each footprint. The guys who have grown up in the bush, like a lot of the Shangaan trackers I've worked with in my career, it tends to be a lot more intuitive in their methodology. But either way, what you need to also do is, if you seems to be more of a systemic tracker, develop the intuitive part, and that comes with experience. So the answer to your question is yes. And the same goes if you're more of an intuitive tracker, work on the systemic part, recognizing the actual sequence of the track. And it's a learning curve that doesn't stop. It's not like you reach one day and you reckon, okay, now I'm where I should be as a tracker. No, it's not like that. There's always more to do, more to learn. There's always the one species of tracks that you don't recognize. Oh, some small raindrops coming down. But we're good for now, I think. Personally, as I said a number of times, I do love tracking. It's awesome to do. Still haven't tracked something on this shift yet. Still waiting for the right opportunity. It's going to be an opportunity-based thing. We're going to have to find the right tracks of a group of lions or herd of buffalo or single elephant bull. That's firstly fresh enough.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Confusing me, but just going out with other trackers and learn more and more and just keep learning. All right, I'm gonna, this rain's gonna catch us maybe, but anyway, let's go back to Liam, to see if he's got any luck while we scan the area further.
A very interesting chat there with Chris. I actually guided for a couple of years as a very young field guide or naturalist with no real formal tracking in terms of the actual tracking side. So yeah, it's certainly in the beginning it was tough, having no real serious scientific refined knowledge looking at signs for animals. It was a challenge in the beginning. Even telling the difference between the track of a young lion and the track of a big male leopard, very, very, very challenging. But that improved greatly when I did my trails guide training, walking safari training, and improved even further when I worked underneath a man by the name of Lee Guttridge, and sort of did a bit of mentoring with him and achieved a track and sign qualification. Yeah, it's a whole sort of science unto itself. It's very, very interesting. Anyway, speaking of tracks and signs, Gert and myself came across the tracks of a female leopard cutting through the northeastern corner of the Djuma property, between Chitwa Cutline and Buffelshoek Cutline. I think it was probably the Tlalamba female that kind of fits into the timeline of where she was last night. And I think with us hearing those Impala alarm calling in Buffelshoek this morning, that could very well have been her. But I think it might be wise to slowly pick our way through this block back up to the Buffelshoek Cutline. Maybe she doesn't feel like staying over there. She makes a nice tight loop and cuts back onto Djuma. No sign of any cubs with her, so I think if it is Tlalamba, she's probably stashed them somewhere. She's off on a territorial marking session. She'll be back with those youngsters later on. Ollie, my most memorable tracking moment from my training. Sure. So very, very early days, I was working at a small, fairly small, about 5,000 hectare private game reserve, fenced in on all sides. Bit more of a rustic experience than what I've been used to for the last couple of years at the 5-star spots. But anyway, went out with a lovely Scottish family that I'm still connected with, and we drove around for days and days and days. They were really desperate to see elephants. Tracked ellies every single day. There were only 4 elephants on the reserve at the time, and in spite of them being the biggest animal on the property, could not find them. Found fresh dung, fresh tracks every single day. Stopped in all parts of the reserve, switched off, listened for breaking branches, for sounds. Couldn't find elephants, couldn't find elephants. So on the final morning, after finding pretty much everything else the reserve had to offer, dedicated our entire morning to trying to sniff out these ellies. Tracked. Obviously pressure mounting, time running out by the minute. And just as we were giving up the search, throwing our hands up in the air, going, no, it's just not going to work, and the elephant stepped out into the road. So a success. I think I can remember a couple of guests actually crying about it. Happy tears. So yeah, that was very, very cool. A great question. Thank you very much.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Sorry about that crash cut, everybody. My apologies, mercifully, for everyone concerned. We have found a Bateleur. Isn't that a spectacular Bateleur? I can even hear a hippopotamus in the far distance, giving its call. The Bateleur is just enjoying the sunrise, probably a little bit disappointed with the sun's performance, as are we. He's now looking at me as if to say, who are you and what are you doing in my domain? We're on our way to the hyena den, but we just thought we'd stop and have a look at this Bateleur. This is one of those birds that are real indicators, I think, of ecosystem health, because they only occur in protected areas. They will not occur outside of protected areas, and that's probably because they get poisoned, either indirectly or directly, and because they just seem to prefer to be in natural areas. They don't like to be around urban areas like some raptors are able to. So they're a great indicator of ecological health. If you've got Bateleurs flying around your area, you're probably in pretty good shape. It would be great if we could get to a point that birds like this could live outside protected areas. Joshua, there are plenty of birds that I'd like to see that I haven't seen. Not many here at Djuma. I think I've pretty much covered the list here at Djuma over the last little while. I'm trying to think. Birds like the... what do they call it? Birds like the shoebill. The big shoebill, which you find up in Zambia, the northern parts of Zambia and Uganda and around Lake Victoria. That would be a fascinating thing for me to see. It's a massive, massive bird. Massive sort of... it's impossible to describe. It just looks like a prehistoric bird that eats a lot of catfish and that sort of thing. It stands about 4 feet tall. So shoebill would be a good one. A harpy eagle in Asia. I'd like to see a harpy eagle. That's the world's biggest eagle. I'd love to see hyacinth macaws and what's the other? There's the red one as well. Anyone, those beautiful macaws that occur in South America, I'd love to see some of those. So lots and lots of different bird species.
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited Safari Guide training with courses tailored for the African safari lodge industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
And coming up in first place and officially named Mbilo is Housekeeping.
I'm just going to quickly make a comment. I knew I'd done this as I said it. Panicum maximum, the grass that we looked at with a little bit of sweet sugar on it. I knew it had changed its name. As I said, this is Panicum maximum, and I also knew that Judy H. would point it out. Megathyrsus maximus is now what it's called. And that was in... It changed some time ago. That first came through on the 23rd of May 2017. So I really do need to get over Panicum. Megathyrsus maximus. Megathyrsus maximus. The guinea grass, Megathyrsus maximus. Thank you, Judy. I do apologize. Casey, does the Bateleur have any special adaptations to living in Africa? Remember, when you ask a question like that, when you say to the African environment, I presume you mean in this particular area. Remember that Africa is massive, 3 times the size of the continental United States, and it has a whole lot of habitats that are completely unsuited to something like a Bateleur eagle. Deserts and forests, for example, are totally unsuited. The Bateleur is ideally suited to semi-arid bushveld areas like this one, and that does make up quite a substantial portion of especially southern Africa, and the Bateleur is adapted in that way to live in these areas, and it's adapted for scavenging, and its most special adaptation is its ability to avoid competition with bigger scavenging raptors like the vultures by getting to carcasses first. And it does that by flying much lower than all the other scavenging raptors, and it maintains the ability to fly low by not having a tail. It's got almost no tail at all, and that substantially reduces the drag that the air inflicts on the bird as it flies. And so without that tail, it's able to fly much lower without using much energy, unlike many of the much larger raptor scavengers like the vultures, which have to fly very high in order to maintain an energy balance. So that's its major adaptation, a very short tail. And in fact, it's in some places called a short-tailed eagle. Indeed, Annette, it is beautiful and all puffed up against the cold. It's exactly what it is. And I remember, when we were doing these night safaris and we had that FLIR camera that used to be able to see thermal, what was so special about that was that you could see exactly how insulated various species were. And we found that when you shone the thermal camera on a bird, feathers apparently were much better insulators than mammal hair. So birds gave off much less heat than mammals did, which I thought was very interesting. So my apologies to Judy H., who started her Megathyrsus maximus campaign on the 23rd of May 2017, which is now almost 5 years ago. In fact, it's more than 5 years ago. My apologies. While I go and find a guarri bush to beat myself with on account of my poor memory, let's go across to Chris and see what he is finding at Pridelands.
While we're out and about here at Pridelands, eco-trading, we are looking for animals. We're looking for entertainment, but we also training the next generation of nature guides here. Therefore, we always try also to take an educational approach and look at this. Sometimes when we're out with students, an opportunity presents and you have to discuss something with them. So look at this. Right, knobthorn, we have discussed the knobthorn tree at length. Not going to discuss the knobthorn here. Got these big round woody sort of structures. It almost looks like the twigs have bulged out. Now, remember a while back we spoke about the gall wasps on the terminalias, which I showed you. We took one of them, we broke it open, we showed you where the wasp was and so forth. Now, with a knobthorn you get something similar, but it's not necessarily caused by gall wasps or gall midges. There's also a third thing that can cause this sort of excessive growth, and that is the mistletoe plant, one of the mistletoes that I found here. Now, what happens with mistletoes? Mistletoes are hemiparasites, which means they're half parasites. So they've got a very specialized little fruit, bird lime, it's also called bird lime, very sticky pulp. And in this region, they mostly provide food for things like tinkerbirds, acacia pike barbets, those things. They are the main vectors of that. So what happens, they eat the fruit, tiny little red berry, those seeds get stuck to their mouths and they go and sit on the branches and they rub it off and that seed germinates there. Now when they germinate, it's got a very sharp tip, the initial root. Those roots are called hostoria. So they then tap into the bark of the tree, into the cambium and so forth, and they extract minerals and nutrients to aid in their own nutrient production, because mistletoe still has green leaves, which contains chlorophyll, so they still photosynthesize. So that is why we refer to them as a half parasite, because they don't kill their hosts eventually. They just initially harm them. The tree has an inflammatory response and it creates this massive structure around where this plant is going to contain it. It's called a wood rose. And the mistletoe then further reproduces. But let's take a look here, because all is not always what it seems. All right. Not all the time on knobthorn this would be caused by mistletoe. Come look here. You can clearly see, in this case, bulge out with an exit hole, exit hole, exit hole, exit hole, exit hole. So I guarantee you 99% of guides will see the knobthorn and they, okay, right, this is caused by mistletoe. Mistletoe's got a very opened up, funny way, wood rose. It's actually almost like a wooden flower. This is either a gall wasp or a gall midge that has caused this. You can clearly see where they emerge. There's hole, 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 hole. So the same as with the terminalia. What happens is, in the young plant, the wasp lays an egg, and it also introduces a growth hormone for the tree to create that wooden structure, which provides a home and refuge for the larvae when they reproduce. So there's three things that can cause this: midges, wasps, and then mistletoe. If I see an example of what mistletoe does to the knobthorn, I'll show you. They also tend to grow on some other Senegalia species as well, thorn trees, also marulas at time. But in this case, this particular one is not from the mistletoe.
We protect and reconnect nature across southern Africa. We bring countries together to care for wild spaces that stretch beyond borders. We protect and restore biodiversity. We prioritize the people living in these landscapes, enabling them to thrive in harmony with nature. We are restoring tomorrow.
Well, my name is Mark Carantonis, and I'm the co-owner of a travel company called Africa Direct, and I'm from White River in Mpumalanga, and I'm the founder of Safari Guide of the Year. It takes a lot of courage, you know, to put your hand up and say I'm in. to put yourself forward and say, I'm here to learn, it's not possible without them.
Next flower, and that's how mistletoes are pollinated, mainly by sunbirds. So those bigger ones up there are definitely from mistletoe. We see the evidence here. This one, different structure. One can clearly see where the midges emerged. But the ones further up into the tree are definitely from mistletoe, because we can see the evidence of the mistletoe flower here. I can't see the actual plant anymore. It's just purely because of the light. And generally speaking, they don't have leaves or flowers left this time of the year. It's up there, yeah. Our light is just going to be a little bit tricky to show you where it's attached. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. I'll need to get another example, but way up there, there is a mistletoe attached to the northern, but it's so difficult to isolate that on camera because of the contrast and the light. I'll try and find another example. But you can see in between there is definitely some different leaves, longer leaves that are not divided. And that up there, that is from the mistletoe. So there's a mistletoe that's still alive. Interesting. So that's why often you interpret these things, you have to investigate as deep as you can, because you may draw the wrong conclusion to that. I was very careful not to stand next to Mpo under the mistletoe. And it's not Christmas, and boy, you're not going to get a kiss today. All right, we're going to be continuing to see what else Pridelands is going to provide for us today. But let's head over to James out on his game drive.
We've just checked the hyena den, and I'm afraid there are no hyenas there, not even an adult. The babies must all be inside. Something smells fairly foul around here. We're just making our way out again. I think we'll probably head down to Chitwa, unless Liam's gone there now, and see what they're doing. Before we do that, Judy H. was also asking if I might show you a Gossypium herbaceum, the wild cotton, which I don't think is actually cottoning at the moment. I don't think it's seeding, but it looks very similar to these hibiscus flowers, which are not open. I would have said these were very late hibiscus flowers. The leaves don't look the same at all, but the flowers look very similar to Gossypium herbaceum. Yeah, I mean, to see hibiscus growing at this time of the year, I would have said was very odd. So that's a function of the late rain, I'd say. Right. On we go. Have we shown anyone a mammal today? I think we have we? We haven't done one mammal. Not one mammal. Other than myself. I'm in fact a mammal.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Plants like this one here, Cissus cornifolia, or the bushman's grape, you can crush up and rub on your skin. I'm not going to do that because it smells disgusting, and the reason that insects don't want to come and bite you is because you smell disgusting after you've rubbed that all over yourself. And I don't think that will be very fair on Punda for me to make myself smell disgusting. So yeah, that's a good example of a plant that you can use to protect yourself out here. There are a few others, and there are obviously a lot of these plants have got many medicinal uses, some of which do not have any scientific proof, or shall we say, what do I want to say? Science has not managed to prove that they do anything useful, and some of which science really has proved that they contain extremely useful substances medically. Adam, I'm afraid I missed your question there because I was waffling. Love the shock absorbers on this machine. Adam, the best scent in the bush. I think that really does depend on your personality. My favorite scent is the scent of the gardenia flower. I think when the gardenia flowers, and they flower for a very short period, that's my favorite smell out here. Thank you for that, Adam. No gardenia flowers at this time of the year, I'm afraid. Right, we're now at Treehouse Waterhole, where I've no doubt there is a blacksmith lapwing lurking around loyally. There doesn't seem to be much else. So I'm just going to continue on by. All right, let's go across to Liam, find out what he's doing. I'm going to try and head down towards Chitwa.
So our bumble is going quite well this morning. We've made something of an attempt to relocate on Tlalamba and or the young cubs. Unfortunately, without too much of a result, however. I think Tlalamba has probably popped off into Buffelshoek, hung the cubs up somewhere in a nice shady thicket. I'm sure she'll be back through a little bit later, hopefully leaving a clear set of tracks that one of us can follow. Gert framing up on a little bit of scenery there. A nice look at some low cloud. Cloudy and overcast. Somewhere beneath that sort of veil of low cloud, fog and mist is the Drakensberg mountain range, though we cannot see it at all this morning. Our cool, still conditions this morning. I can see a rather large bird. It looks like a white-backed vulture. Just off in a tree a bit further in front of us. Certainly a white-backed vulture. I don't think his presence is indicating something is dead in the immediate vicinity. Vanessa, certainly as late as we are at the moment in June, we passed the winter solstice. So, it should be very, very dry out here. But with the late rains that we had during this wet season and in enormous volumes as well, and we have lots of water still remaining in the bush, so hence all the greenery. It is starting to dry out, though. A lot of the grass has wilted. The trees are shedding their leaves. I'm sure closer to July, it's going to look more like the dry season that we're used to. But yeah, so we've got this white-backed vulture. I don't think it's indicating that anything has died. On days like today, overcast conditions, very cool temperatures, no real exposure to the sun yet. There's very little air moving. Vultures actually require thermals, so hot pockets of very violently rising air, in order to kind of achieve the flight that they actually like to make. And they're expert managers of those air currents. So flying into those pockets of rising air, they get launched up into the sky. Without so much as a flap of their wings, they glide for hundreds of kilometers. Yeah, quite a regal bird. Doesn't have a good reputation, a bit like the hyena. I think they're thought of as quite foul and quite dirty. Jill, so it is a very common misconception that vultures actually sniff their food out. A lot of people believe that flying around in the sky, they have some sort of phenomenal sense of smell, and they actually smell a rotting body or a fresh kill by a leopard, a lion, a cheetah, etc. My apologies there, Joe. I misheard your name there, Joe. Vultures have incredible eyesight. So the secret to their abilities to locate dead and rotting bodies comes from their eyes. An ornithologist told me that from an altitude of 1,000 meters off of the ground, a kilometer off of the ground, a vulture could see the time on your watch if it wanted to. Phenomenal vision. So a dead buffalo out in the bush, a vulture from 10,000 foot can probably quite easily spot that. Once a vulture starts to orbit, other birds of prey see that, other scavengers, things like hyenas, and yeah, they are called in.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to Bushwise Field Guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Critter Freak, I'm happy that you are happy to see this vulture. They're certainly, I would say, probably not our most popular bird, but they serve such a vital role, and they are real characters. I mentioned yesterday being bitten by a couple of interesting animals. I was actually bitten by a white-backed vulture in the western sector of the Sabi Sands. Shame, we came across quite a tragic scene. I think a number of scavenging birds, a tawny eagle, a number of vultures, a Bateleur, were all found dead. So they'd probably crossed out into the community, fed on a carcass where somebody had attempted to poison these birds for traditional medicine, something that does go on in our country. And yeah, anyway, many of these birds came home to roost in the Sabi Sands, as they do, and a lot of them were succumbing to whatever they had eaten, probably rat poison. Anyway, I came across one whiteback vulture that was looking very sick, but it was still alive on the ground. So myself, with the assistance of my incredible tracker at the time, a man by the name of David Noguyela, covered this poor thing in a blanket, picked it up under my arm as you'd carry sort of a big duck or a turkey or something like that. And my heart bled for this thing. It didn't even struggle. It didn't flap its wings. So I sort of tried to, I kind of gently caressed its neck with the back of my hand, and it sunk its bill right into my index finger. I mean, their beaks have evolved to cut through elephant and buffalo leather, so seriously strong bite. Anyway, bit me almost right down to the bone, squirting blood, and then vomited all over me as well, which was a really unimpressive turn of events to start my morning. But it was actually a great experience. Other than the bite and the vomit, we managed to get this vulture to somebody who could drive it to a rehabilitation centre outside the town of Hoedspruit, which specialises in rehabilitating these poisoned vultures. And he was released. Warrior, absolutely. Birds in general have phenomenal eyes. Many of them see in colour. It's all to do with mate selection, so choosing the right member of the opposite sex to breed with, and in order to find food. Not necessarily meat alone, but fresh berries, fresh fruit, to spot danger, predators like snakes. Birds have excellent, excellent vision indeed. A good question. Yeah, from here I think we may carry on a bit. Leave this vulture in peace. Heidi, certainly I think it would. It would be a real blessing. Think of all the stuff you would see. I think the only curse out of all of these supreme senses would be a very fine sense of smell. If we had the sense of smell of something like a hyena, think of how uncomfortable trips in elevators would be. All the surprising and upsetting aromas you'd be exposed to.
My name is Michelle Duplessis, and I'm the Managing Director of the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. I'm one of the judges this year, and I'll be judging the game drive category, as well as hospitality, professionalism and storytelling. I really look forward to seeing everybody again this year, and obviously to meet the incredible contestants.
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited Safari Guide training with courses tailored for the African safari lodge industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
Rachel, I absolutely do. I have a very, very soft spot for the Pell's fishing owl, which I've been privileged to see on multiple occasions. I worked in a very, very special part of the reserve, part of the Greater Kruger, the Baluli Nature Reserve, and we actually had a nesting pair of these exquisite and highly sought after birds. So I viewed them with chicks, I viewed them nesting, fishing, often unfortunately with guests that could not care less. but it is one of the most coveted bird species out there. Speaking of coveted birds, we've got another beautiful Bateleur eagle. Also feeling a bit snoozy. Similar to the vulture, this guy is an expert manager of those air currents. So I think with very little heat, very calm winds, this guy's just conserving his energy, biding his time before he takes off and starts some soaring for the day. He is also a scavenging bird. They are so beautiful though, all those different colors. I love the orange and the red and the black on their bill. Yeah, great to get such a close view. Ben, there are some similarities between the sexes of Bateleurs, but it is vastly more easy to differentiate between the sexes when they actually fly. So from below, the easiest way to tell the difference between the two sexes is to judge the balance of black and white beneath their wings. So an adult male has about a 50-50 split between black and white, and an adult female is predominantly white under the wings with just the very, very slightest little bit of black trim on the edges of her primary feathers. A bit of a silly trick, but an easy way to remember it is to think of a couple on their wedding day. A man wears a tuxedo, so majority black with a little bit of white trim. He's got a white collar. A woman is usually in a white wedding dress. Yeah, silly, but it works. Yeah, judging by the presence of that slightly whiter band down this bird's wing, this is an adult female. Terry, they are not born with this plumage at all. A sub-adult Bateleur is actually quite a drab, brown, quite boring-looking bird. They don't actually even have colourful feet as youngsters. It's a very gradual transition. It actually takes a couple of years. I think it's 3 or 4 years, in fact, for these glorious adult colours to come through. I would say, quite realistically, the most attractively marked of all of our raptors. Very, very, very colourful indeed. Once again, this is a female. We can tell that by that lovely grey band on the upper side of her wing.
And coming up in first place and officially named Bilo is Heart's Cub.
Your trekking is very good. What is the starting trekking? Just track the leopard. You walk a little bit, you stop. You starting checking. Keep your hands, your neck up. Okay, your eyes. Listen for the birds. You follow the leopard. The leopard should see you first. You lose. Talk next year.
Cielo, certainly a glorious, glorious resident of our wooded savanna. Now they breed out here as well, laying only a single egg, often in a platform-type nest right on the top of one of these towering knobthorn trees, as she sat in this morning. Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket, though. They may not breed every year. It might only be every 2 or 3 years. So if that egg doesn't survive, no breeding for them in that cycle. Yeah, I think we may leave this this nice raptor in peace now, and carry on. See if there are any other signs of life on what's turning into a nice, relaxed bumble of a morning. So let's pop over now to James, who I believe has come across a hyena on his mission down to Chitwa.
All right, we've come across to Chitwa, and there are some hyenas here hanging around where that lion kill was, and I obviously can't recognize them. And they've come in from the south, and we did see some others just slightly further to the north of here, closer to where the kill was. I'm wondering if these are perhaps not members of the Djuma clan. They're marking territory, peeing everybody everywhere, tails up. It's quite interesting. Just going to move forward slightly. The lions have moved off from where they were yesterday. I think somebody has spotted them, or some of them, further up towards the north. And so we will try and find them. I just want to see what's going to happen with these hyenas. See if they're not rushing in to try and fight with the Djuma clan. Pat, you say this is what you've been waiting for all morning, hyenas. Well, that's great. It's wonderful that you have that attitude towards hyenas. I think we all do these days, after seeing them at their dens for so long. But they are not, there's no one at the den, and I think they're actually all around here. You can see a lovely picture there of the hyenas lurking below the tree, filled with vultures. Oh, and there's a leopard-faced vulture in the top of the tree, which is very special indeed. That is the biggest vulture we get here. Some Cape vultures are bigger, but in general, those are bigger. Yeah, and those hyenas are now absconding. I think these are strangers. I possibly used the word abscond too much. My apologies. Kim, you said that WildEarth has definitely changed your opinion on hyenas. I think you and many others. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So if anybody has any idea who these hyenas are, that would be great.
We We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Just see how this plays out. So vultures flying around the place, hoping for a last scrap. Hello, Dan. Hyenas mark their territories in exactly the same way that other animals mark their territories, with urine and dung piles or scat piles. And in hyena cases, it's quite interesting because you can find their middens, which are white because of all the bones they eat. The calcium that they eat comes out green and then oxidizes in the sun and turns white very quickly. And so you often find white middens for hyenas on the territorial boundaries. Michael Fleetwood, the superb hyena naturalist, has said that he does not recognize these hyenas. So I think we are looking at some interlopers from the south, probably all the way from Mala Mala, very fancied part of the world in the safari industry. And that's probably where they've come from. And they're not approaching the area where the carcass was because the area is filled with members of the Juma clan, I think, in some very thick bush. Yeah, and Shreya's K just agreeing, definitely not the Juma clan. Cool, eh? Very interesting. And actually Panda picked it up. When we saw these hyenas, he said, oh, they look like they're coming in. And I knew exactly what he meant. He meant they looked like they were kind of checking the scene out, tails up, urinating, thinking they were going to get heavy with the Juma clan. But the Juma clan's here and they're not afraid. Just talking like I'm from Johannesburg now because no one's afraid in Johannesburg. That's how you've got to talk when you're in a gang there. There's another hyena now to our right-hand side we're having a look at here. Very nice, taking a bit of a walk, stroll away. All right, I think we'll probably now, yeah, this guy's getting out of here as fast as he can, I think. I think we'll probably head off and see if we can find the lions, which I don't think are too far from here. Oh, fascinating to watch. I don't think the hyenas are going to do anything other than stare at what could be. Whereas the male hyenas don't really play much of a role at all in their cubs' lives, sadly. Well, not sadly, I mean, they play the role that they need to, but they don't have an active role in parenting. They do sometimes come around to the den, and they'll sometimes play with the cubs, but they don't really have much of a role. We'll just have a last look at these two hyenas here. These might be Juma clan members. They look like they've got blood on their faces. We're on the airstrip at Chitwa. That was just me blowing into my earpiece. It seemed to lose enthusiasm for life again.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
We're going to take off. I like to pretend I'm Tom Cruise and Top Gun Maverick in my F-18 Super Hornet. I think the G-force you get from an F-18 Super Hornet is probably substantially more severe than that you're capable of getting out of this little Land Rover. All right, let's go across to Liam. He's managed to find a bird, and I'm sure he'll tell you what it is.
So we were very hopeful to do a nice segment with this grey heron, but I think he had other plans. So we'll leave him to it and carry on. Yeah, we've just come past Treehouse Dam, and that's where we had that nice grey heron. But that's all good. Other fish in the sea. Oh, Twin Dams rather, not Treehouse Dam. It's too early in the morning. I've only had one cup of coffee. Yeah, Twin Dams. I think we're going to turn north into the Juma property and see what else lies in store. A little bit of a chilly morning today. It is warming up slowly but surely. I think that's what explains slightly minimal activity in terms of bird life and many of the smaller things. Mindy, there are loads of heron species, especially as you travel up into Africa, but we quite commonly get green-backed herons. They're probably even more common than these grey herons. The occasional Goliath heron, that's a massive heron species, more brown and grey as opposed to grey and white. And that Goliath heron is appropriately named an enormous bird. It'll quite happily feed on young crocodiles on occasion, spearing them with a bill that must be over 30 centimeters long. It's a huge thing. Yeah, and then on occasion things like the squawko heron, perhaps. Egrets are also sort of heron adjacent, one of the cousins. I've seen black herons in the Sabi sand. Those are those birds that quite famously do that nighttime, daytime thing with their wings. Yeah, they kind of make an umbrella with their wings over their head as they're scanning the water for little fish. I think attempting to shade the surface of whatever body of water they stood in from glare, and potentially even attracting little tiddlers, little fingerlings, fish fry in under their bodies into the shade.
My name is Juan Pinto. I'm here for Safari Guide of the Year. I'm one of the judges. One of the categories in the competition is the walk, or the on-foot experience as you call it, and it's kind of the leveler. It's the experience that really is important for a guide to have, to be able to take people safely into the environment on a walk.
I've been fortunate to be working in the guiding industry for about 26 years now. I've also been fortunate enough to do 9 years of the 10 years as one of the judges, and the particular components that I do is the walking and the shooting exercises. If you're the winner, if you're going to be the winner, it's important to become an ambassador for the field guide industry and competitors in the future.
Ruth, indeed. Wonderful to see that magnificent heron in flight. A testament to Gerrit's eagle eyes and surgeon's steady hand. Managing to track that bird as it flies quite swiftly kind of across the vista. Yeah, they are really magnificent birds. Bianca, I think it is quite instinctive for birds to take flight. Certainly young birds that are starting to fledge. Fledge is the appropriate term for kind of practicing those flying moves. Will position themselves either in the entrance of their nest or on a branch very nearby if they do nest in trees. And they stretch their wings out, they flap them. I think lift is inevitable. They are designed to fly, and yeah, it all just comes naturally. Be a very difficult thing to teach, I think. Yeah, they are naturally just extremely well evolved, very aerodynamic, perfectly balanced. One or two flaps when those wings are muscular and well developed, and it happens. Pat, I've seen some herons feeding on enormous fish to the point where you can't actually believe that the bird would be able to swallow it without choking. I can remember viewing a grey heron down in the south, down at Lion Sands, picking on catfish in a drying pool. It lifted one of these struggling barbel, one of these struggling catfish out of the mud. The catfish was literally probably 3 to 4 times thicker than that heron's neck, which is not all that thick anyway. And the heron swallowed it head first, straight down. Yeah, it's unreal. I've also seen them on a number of occasions eating rodents, eating snakes that they catch on the water's edge. Highly opportunistic predatory birds. Yeah, we also haven't seen those little crocodiles around Chitwa Dam in the last while, and chatting to the other camops and the other naturalists here, and nobody has seen them for quite a while. I hope they moved off to a different part of the dam, but at the size they were when we last saw them, it is almost certain that they would still be on the menu for a lot of species around the water, from big fish to birds of prey, herons. Yeah, but hopefully there's still one or two around. It would be lovely to see a couple more crocodiles in Chitwa. Achat is telling me he's seen one fairly recently, so they must be around. So grey herons often nest quite close to water, which is understandable, nice and close to a source of food for their chicks. They don't nest on the ground, so often quite high up in trees. They build these very precarious flat nests out of sticks and kind of floating vegetation, and then they raise quite big families, maybe 3 to 4 chicks, who will all sit squawking and squabbling on those very precarious platforms. And then, the parents return multiple times during the day to actually give them food, which they will regurgitate out of their gullets, often small fish. I've just spotted a hyena. Is it okay? Just spotted a hyena moving through with 2 fairly small cubs. Just see if she pops out. Yeah, there she comes. Not exactly sure who this is. Kat tells me he reckons this is potentially another den site. Yeah, Mom going right up to the hole in that termite mound. That sounds about right. And there's the little cubbies as well. That is a very well-fed looking female hyena. Youngsters have disappeared down the hole. Yeah, on a chilly morning such as this, can't blame them for wanting to snuggle up in a nice cozy spot like the den. Oh, there's one. Not quite ready to shut down. Maybe we pull a bit further forward past this bush. See if we can open it up a bit. It is pretty thick. Crossing straight through the drainage line. Out of view. Yeah, we'll see if they do come into view again. Almost certainly members of the Juma clan. We are still on Juma. But this is without a doubt a secondary den site. Understandable with the amount of cubs out and about around the main den site. I'm sure they're a bit hard pressed for space. Yeah, so we're just here on Elephant Carcass Road. and they've kind of dropped into the drainage line. I wonder if they're not having a drink down there. So I believe that adult was Ntima. I think Gert has just spotted her. I can see her ears twitching above the grass there. Maybe she'll come out and present herself. Hopefully she doesn't go down and have a rest right in the middle there. Now, the brief sighting we did have of Ntima's 2 cubs there, they're both looking very happy and healthy, developing fast. They're already so much bigger than they were when I saw them a month ago.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But we want to let you know that we hear you. You can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more.
Not the easiest site to view these hyenas at. It's quite vegetated all around. Jackson, not necessarily. I think it's very circumstantial, also based on the size of the clan. I think the most determining factor when it comes to when it's time to actually move is the parasite load in the den. So obviously hyenas are hosts to things like ticks, fleas, probably some lice, and without a doubt, spending a lot of time in one location, such as they do around a den site, they drop a lot of those parasites. Parasites make their home underground, and especially for the little youngsters, living underground, sleeping underground, and with slightly smaller, weaker bodies, if they do become overloaded with parasites, life becomes very uncomfortable. Pressured eventually to move on to fresh den sites. Anyway, speaking of moving on to fresh sites, let's check over into Chitwa with fellow naturalist James.
Lions now, and we found one male and this one cub, and I think the rest of them are all in this very thick grass. There they are. I can see them now. Yeah, they're all just inside that bush. There they are. It's so thick in here that we could hardly see what was going on. All right, let's try and move it over there a little bit. The male is just there. The cubs are here.
Yeah, I can see it.
I'm just telling Pete from Nkoro what's happening. We're just going to move around here, try and get a better view.
Yes. Did you Did you check on the shower this morning? The parents see you did, Famba after you, and then God's specifically your God's are walking around Famba South.
Well, they're playing a little game called Smell the Sibling now. Which is quite cute. The rest of them are all basically in this bush. I really think these lions are going to do next to nothing today. They are so full. I think there are about 7 lions in there. And they smell. They smell like carcass currently. You can try and move again, Panda. I'll see if I can get a slightly better view for you. It's not going to be amazing, but we'll do our best. After a quiet morning, I think this is a pretty good bonus. Yes, dear, it is a pleasure to see the cubs. I can assure you that it's not a pleasure to smell them right now, but it is a pleasure to see them. How's that? Is that okay? Just hope that log isn't in your way. I think it's all right. Cool. There we go. 2 little fat cubs. They're approaching sub-adult age, of course. I think they're about a year old. I can just see tawny colour in amongst that bush. And I think actually as the sun comes out, the cloud's slowly burning away now, I think you might find that they'll come out and lie in the sun for a while before returning to the shade and dead again.
WildEarth have really inspired me to return to South Africa after having followed so many beautiful characters. This ticket to dream has given me a great opportunity to meet the WildEarth team, which I thank. They're all amazing. Well, I love all of the characters, but I do have a particular passion for leopards. It's a dream, and as I said before, I just keep on pinching myself. Am I really here?
And I think what they're calling them at the moment is the Nkuhuma subs or breakaways, and then the Nkuhumas themselves. And I think this is the Nkuhuma subs, if I'm not mistaken. Mohawk, the male, is around here as well. Presumably some of the adult females. And then the rest have gone off, I think, to the south. Pat, the cubs separate from the adults never if they're females. Females live in their natal pride. I nearly said clan. They don't live in a clan, of course. In their natal pride forever and ever. And then the males will be chased out eventually, probably when they're about 3. They'll start to be chased out by the adult territorial males, who will normally be their fathers. Wayne, no, there tends not to be a hierarchy in a lion pride. You find that the lionesses sometimes take on specialist roles, but they don't have a defined hierarchy, anything like you'd find in a hyena clan. In the coalition, sometimes, yes. Sometimes you do find a hierarchy amongst the males, where one is more dominant than the other, but normally they're fairly equitable. Like I was saying the other day, if they're brothers from the same litter, often there's no dominance hierarchy. If they're cousins, where one is slightly older than the other, then sometimes there is. And if they're strangers who've met up and one is older than and bigger than the other, well, then there can be a hierarchy. It also has to do with testosterone and the amount of testosterone they have. So if one is particularly infused with the hormone testosterone, then it's quite possible that there will be a bit of a hierarchy. But it's not rigorously enforced like it would be in a hyena clan. Tina, you say you're loving the big cats lately. Yes, I'm loving the big cats as well. I love being out here and seeing big cats. It really is a huge, huge privilege. And then just a quick update from Michael Fleetwood, who says that one of those hyenas we saw was ribbon sun Ngwazi. So thank you for that, Michael Fleetwood. One of the hyenas we saw there walking about near the carcass that these lions had left them was Ngwazi, who is Ribbon's son. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Yes, Adam, I think they are very relaxed and content on account of the fact that they have full stomachs. It's a relatively pleasant day, and it means that there's really not much for them to do. They don't have to answer emails. They don't have a particular interest in social media. They don't have to go to the shops to buy a meal. They don't have to clean the house. They can just sit there and enjoy themselves and relax.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
What you'll find, CJ, is that they'll start hunting pretty much from now, but it'll be very small stuff. They'll catch the odd bird, they'll hunt each other, and then they'll only start really joining the major hunts probably at about 18 months, and only start being useful at hunts at about 2 years. So it takes them a bit of a while to learn how to take part in the hunts and do a good job. The little chin spot batters in the background. Creak, creak, creak. So we're just going to sit quietly with these cats for a while until they pass out entirely, and then we'll move on. It's very nice just sitting here as the morning warms up slightly. Oh, look at that, that was action, hey? That was some proper action there. Sure, I'm glad we captured it. Did you push record? Oh dear, Panda didn't record the action. Now we won't be able to replay it. Are you not enjoying the action?
Pardon?
It's too much action for you.
Yeah, not like the leopard yesterday.
Yeah.
That wasn't boring.
Yeah, this is great. Yeah. Yeah. Just talking about how boring the leopard sighting was yesterday versus this one. And interestingly, I do think what is, in comparing these two sightings, what is interesting is how completely different the relationship between these cubs is. He's now going to have a bit of a puke, I think. Puke and a yawn. Always good in the morning. Good puke and a yawn. These cubs will have a bond that lasts throughout their lives. Certainly the females together and the males together, whereas those leopards, of course, won't have that at all. They will eventually lose their bond, and as you could see yesterday when they were fighting over their kill, there is already a friction in their relationship, whereas with the lions, their bond will only get stronger and stronger. Kim, you want to know these cubs are prone to any diseases? Yes, they are. They're prone to things like mange, which is a mite. Same thing that causes scabies in human beings. You can Google that. You'll be sick. Don't do it when you're just about to eat. So they are prone to that. It's not always particularly detrimental. It depends very much on whether or not they are well fed and healthy as to whether they recover from mange. They can get things like rabies, but they're not more susceptible to that than anything else. Those are the main ones. I think mange is probably the most detrimental. They can also get bovine tuberculosis from eating buffalo that are infected with bovine tuberculosis. And what's interesting is that many years ago, sort of 20 years ago, they really thought the lions of the Kruger were in trouble. They thought they were going to start dying because they all tested positive, or everyone that they tested was positive for tuberculosis, bovine tuberculosis, which is obviously a little bit disturbing. But it doesn't appear to actually make a huge difference to them. So they all carry it, and it doesn't actually appear to make a huge difference, especially if they are well fed. And the other disease that we saw lions get was white mussel disease, and that was lion cubs, and that did kill them. And it was at a time during the drought when there was no fat in any of the animals that they ate because all their fat reserves were gone. and the lack of, I think it was selenium and vitamin E, which is carried in the fat, brought on a nutritional deficiency which was characterized by this wasting disease called white muscle disease. And it killed, I think, these 6 cubs or so. But that's sort of extreme. That would be only from a drought. Right, I believe that Chris has a huge surprise. We'll sit here for a little bit longer and then start making our way back towards Djuma.
This morning we had one of our viewers requesting to see some elephants, and unfortunately I forgot your name there. But anyway, there we go. There's a Pridelands, young Pridelands elephant bull. And just sit here and watch what he's doing, which way he's going. So this would have been a great animal to track on foot. It's one young elephant bull, unlikely to cause much trouble. No other elephants around him to spot us, so we saw him by vehicle, so I'm not going to get off here and walk to him. That won't be clever either. But just in theory, tracks like this, found fresh, that could have been something to trail. So weather permitting, this afternoon we will hopefully get out on a nice, proper walk. And I'm thinking to it's Wakisha who said she wanted to see elephants this morning. There we go. So anyway, this afternoon I'm thinking to do some relatively serious walking. And I'm planning a theme. I just need to get my head around exactly what, but I'm thinking to link it to elephants in a way. If we have an opportunity to try and track one, that'll be cherry on top. But I'm thinking to do something in the line of perhaps trees and shrubs. We haven't done that in a while. How they've changed since my last shift here. Yeah, linking to the conditions that we have currently, the late rains we had, and the general role in the ecology and how it links to the animal life out here. I reckon that could be a very nice theme for a bushwalk today, later this afternoon. Let me know what you think about that idea. Justine mentions how amazing it is how these giants can just disappear. Yeah, Justine, I've done trails out here where you see them one moment, next moment they're gone. You get there, you see their tracks, and you track and you just don't see them ever. Then when they know they're being followed, they can go very, very, very quiet. I'm just looking at my trousers here, and I am covered in pepper ticks. Oh, that's not good. That is not good at all. Where will you guys have come from? Oh, that's going to itch. It's amazing, even in this time of the year, there's so many pepper ticks around. Yeah, that's normally in summer. Anyway, that's going to result in a few itchy bites. Unless I can find a nice guarri bush and shake them all off. Indigo Gull just saying, oh no, ticks. Yeah, that's one of the things that comes with the territory. And yeah, we're in winter, mid-winter already, and there's still so many of them around. It's because of all those late rains. And also we don't have a lot of frost here. Well, no frost at all, so there's nothing that really kills them in numbers in winter. Normally in areas where there's frost, you'll find that it kills a lot of the ticks, as well as fire. We haven't had much fire here recently, so expect a few more bites. Good morning, Ollie. Ollie's question there is, how many line prides are there at Pridelands? It depends on how you look at it, Ollie. It's essentially one pride, but they've broken up into two portions. So it's called the Ngati pride. And can't remember the males that came in, but the males that entered the area, those two big guys, disrupted the cohesion of the pride, and 6 members of the pride broke away from them. So we refer to them as the Ngati breakaway pride, or just the breakaways. 6 members, and then the Ngati pride itself, I think it's 7 lionesses and it's something like 12, 13 cubs, somewhere in that region. I've not yet seen that pride yet. I've only seen the breakaways. So those are the prides that are resident, meaning they live in the area. Bear in mind that their territories are much larger than the area of Pridelands, so therefore they might not be on Pridelands at all. Pridelands is a man-made allocated area that's got no relevance to where a lion roams. For them, crossing a road where one person owns a property to the next, for them, it's a mere road. There's no fences stopping them, so we are part of the greater Kruger system, so they can go anywhere. But they'll stay within their territory. But like I said, that territory is much bigger. It basically engulfs Prideland. Pridelands just makes up one area within their territory. And as they move through it, they might disappear for long periods. Elizabeth says, I need to dance around to get those ticks away. Elizabeth, I don't think that's going to work. I'm not much of a dancer. Like my colleague Cedric, who loves to dance. I'm not really much of a dancer. But I will figure them out just now.
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited Safari Guide training with courses tailored for the African safari lodge industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
And coming up in first place and officially named Mbilo is Heart's Cub.
So, the importance of ticks, the very basic version of that. Firstly, they introduce, bodily trauma to animals by sucking their blood. They introduce diseases, which are one of the limiting factors of certain creatures. Remember, all creatures have limiting factors, making sure that their populations does not grow beyond what the area can sustain. So ticks plays a role in that. Then ticks also provide food for a number of creatures. Oxpeckers, guinea fowl, for instance, eat a lot of ticks. Fork-tailed drongos eat ticks. So they might not be our favorites, but they are still a very important organism in the general ecology. Morning, Norbert. I can tell you one thing. Norbert says it's making him itch. You just need to be bitten by a small pepper tick once. It is an itch you will never forget. And I'm permanently covered in bites. So you understand. The stuff we do out here. Now he's moving out into the bush. And as our elephant moves away, let's go over to Liam to see if he's had any further luck.
Definitely, Chris. I cannot argue with that last sentiment. I'm grateful, touch wood, to have not encountered any pepper ticks yet this dry season, but I certainly do not forget the bites that I sustained last dry season. They are a nightmare. Yeah, they're so tiny you don't even see them, and they're not like normal ticks, the larger tick species that bite and just latch on in one place. And those little pepper ticks head into all the crevices, they go into your armpits, they bite a few times, and they move. So one pepper tick can bite you 15, 20 times. Oh, and the bites are terrible. They swell up, they itch like there's no tomorrow. Yeah, so hopefully those pepper ticks stay away from us this dry season. But bites are inevitable. They're all over the show. Thankfully, though, we don't seem to really get the Lyme's disease that many of you from the northern hemisphere may be exposed to in more woodsy, more outdoorsy type areas. We do get something called tick bite fever, which can make you feel very ill. Certainly put you in hospital, but I don't think it has ever really been fatal.
We protect and reconnect nature across southern Africa. We bring countries together to care for wild spaces that stretch beyond borders. We protect and restore biodiversity. We prioritize the people living in these landscapes, enabling them to thrive in harmony with nature. We are restoring tomorrow.
Well, my name is Mark Carantonis, and I'm the co-owner of a travel company called Africa Direct, and I'm from White River in Mpumalanga, and I'm the founder of Safari Guide of the Year. It takes a lot of courage, you know, to put your hand up and say I'm in, to put yourself forward and say I'm here to learn. It's not possible without them.
I think I touched on it yesterday. I think some of the most peculiar bites have been the vulture that I mentioned a little bit earlier. That was an unusual one. I've been bitten by a tame klipspringer on a job interview. I went in to pet this really adorable looking klipspringer, not a big antelope at all. And it looked up at me with these beautiful, soulful eyes. And I thought, oh, this is just the coolest thing ever. And it latched onto my hand. Not something you expect from a little herbivore. It was quite firm. It didn't draw blood, but it was a firm chomp. Yeah, definitely will be a bit more apprehensive when it comes to greeting strange animals. I've been bitten by a meerkat, again another captive animal, snakes, lizards, scorpions, terrapins. I've been bitten by terrapins a couple of times. Yeah, lots of things can bite, especially if they think you're planning to eat them. So it's always good to treat wild creatures with respect. Yeah, I've been pretty fortunate though. I haven't been bitten by anything really venomous, anything like a really venomous spider, a potentially serious scorpion. Stung by lots of bees, lots of wasps. I have been stung by a scorpion, but it was a burrowing scorpion. So while it was definitely painful, it's not something I plan to repeat on purpose. It wasn't unmanageable. Yeah, we do get a family group of scorpions in the Lowveld called the Parabuthus of the Bateleur family, which have a sting that has the potential to be quite serious. There's lots of sort of folklore around something called the ivory grape. If we pass one, there's one actually as we speak about it. Perfect, right on cue. Let me pick a little sprig and I'll come back to you. So this is the Bushman's vine, or the ivory grape, and legend has it that this can be used to treat very seriously venomous snake bites. I believe it's the San out of the Kalahari that actually believe that. So it's believed you're walking through the bush, a puff adder bites you on the leg. What they say is you should pick the very softest of the leaves at the tips, chew them up, place those leaves onto the skin, bind it, and that will, I don't know, maybe draw the venom out or something like that. Absolute nonsense. Absolutely not something you should do if you are bitten by a venomous snake. There are no sort of folklore-y type things that work. You need to get to a doctor. So remain calm, try and elevate the limb, pop on a pressure bandage if you can, remaining calm is the big priority. I guess a bit easier said than done, especially if you know that the snake which has just bitten you is a potentially life-threatening one. But yeah.
We know that there's nothing worse than just as your favorite leopard is about to catch his first meal in 3 days, you are on the edge of your seat and up pops an advert. But as you know, a life without advertising would mean a very boring evening when you arrive home from work. Because WildEarth and most other media companies rely on advertising in order to fund our content. But we want to let you know that we hear you. And to show you how much we care about your experience in nature, you can watch WildEarth without the ads. Sign up to be an explorer and watch the channel on the WildEarth website completely ad-free. Head over to our Explorer page to find out more. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Yeah, the leaves of the aloe plants, these beautiful succulents with long, almost tendrilless leaves. I think Chris showed us some in Pridelands in the last couple of days. They can be quite effective for things like sunburn, bee stings, bites from ants. Perhaps if you brush up against something like a hairy caterpillar. Yeah, so they've got this almost mucousy substance in the leaves which is very soothing. Extremely good for irritated skin, but proper venom needs to be treated by a medical professional. Now, get to a doctor if a snake bites you. Yeah, that's not to say, however, that there aren't many phenomenal medicinal uses to our plants. And who knows, even big cures for things like Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, cancer out there somewhere. So I think as Gert and myself continue to ponder on medicinal plants, let's check back in with Chris in Pridelands to see what he's up to.
Right, we've just sparked here to listen out for more line audio. Those lines I mentioned earlier, we keep on hearing them, but again, still very far. But we have to investigate these things. There's some green hoodoo-boos in the distance that are also making a hell of a noise. I mean, it's late in the morning for lions to be vocalizing, but like I mentioned earlier, they do it cold days like this, denser air, also all the vapor in the air from this what appears to be rainy weather makes the air medium denser and sound will travel much better, so they make use of that. Light conditions are lower, so they'll also possibly be hunting. No, doesn't sound like we can pick up anything. Mm-hmm. No. Best probably to move on. Let's move on and see if we can't find anything there.
The Safari Guide of the Year 2022 is approaching us rapidly. This year, we'll be heading to bushwise field guides at the Southern African Wildlife College from the 27th June till the 2nd of July. We will soon meet all our contestants who are vying for the prize of being the very best of the best, and the judges who will put them through their paces. Join me, Steve Falconbridge, as we dream it, guide it, win it.
If you would like to be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration in Kenya live on WildEarth, then we have some great news for you. There are a few places left to join our expeditions in August and September this year. You'll be staying in an exclusive tented camp with ensuite bedrooms nestled in the riverine woodlands of the Talek River. Head over to our website to book your bucket list experience today. WildEarth Expeditions. Travel with purpose.
Intensity of the bush might influence it. Here comes the wood hoopers. Oh, now they're gone. It's a funny sound, eh? Those are actually babblers. The wood hoopers have flown over already. It's called allomimetic behavior, where each bird mimics the one close to him within the flock, and therefore creating a uniform flock call. All right, we are heading into the straits, the last straits of this safari. Let's give Liam an opportunity to see if he can't get us some last-minute luck.
You know, we are just lucky in general, but perhaps not quite lucky with high-profile species right at this very second. But I'm feeling pretty lucky to be alive, pretty lucky to call this place my office, and pretty lucky to be sat here talking to all of you. Not a bad gig. Yeah, nice morning all round though. Very cool to have seen a bit of elephant activity from Pridelands amongst all the other small interesting things from there. And of course the lovely lions here in the Sabi sand. Yeah, who knows what might be in store this afternoon. If I could put out a request to Mother Nature, I'm pretty keen to see some wild dogs in the next couple of drives. They haven't been reported in our area since they were last seen, I think 3 or 4 days ago even. But that's not to say that they won't pitch up at any moment. It could happen. Yeah, it's the time of year where we expect denning activity from wild dogs. So maybe they're raising puppies out there somewhere.
My name is Michelle Duplessis and I'm the Managing Director of the Field Guides Association of Southern Africa. I'm one of the judges this year and I'll be judging the game drive category as well as hospitality, professionalism and storytelling. I really look forward to seeing everybody again this year and obviously to meet the incredible contestants
Here at WildEarth, we promised great monthly prizes for our explorers, and this month is no exception. If you join our club before the 10th of July, then you stand a chance to win a fabulous Safari Guide online course brought to you by Bushwise Field Guides. They specialize in accredited safari guide training with courses tailored for the African safari large industry. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer today and don't miss out on this life-changing opportunity.
We're probably going to be popping in for one last segment with James before we end off for the morning. From Gert and myself, it's been a pleasure, and we will see you guys all a little bit later this Sabi. Have a nice day.
We have got some nice animals. We've got some nice zebra, some nice Impala, and one nice wildebeest. They're all so nice. They seem to find each other quite nice too, because they have been around each other for the last few days. This little zebra herd, the wildebeesten, and the Impalas. Strange day from a weather point of view. Not much by way of sun, but every so often the sun pops out and combines with the grey clouds above and the green below to create a palette that is most pleasing to the eye. Might also be able to hear the gentle pecking of a woodpecker not far from here. Peckety peck, 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 it's going. Yes, Jackie, what a nice way to end the drive. A very nice way to end the drive. It's been a relatively quiet drive, but a very pleasant one nevertheless. There is the lonely gnu who's trying desperately to make friends with the Impala and the zebra, and they don't seem to want to have too much to do with him. Poor fellow. All right, everyone, that is going to be the end of our sunrise safari. The sun has risen. We'll see you again at 14:30 Central African time for the lunchtime/sunset safari, during which you may ask us many questions, and we'll do our best to answer any queries that you might have. Thank you for joining us. It's been lovely to have you along for the ride. Stay safe and happy wherever you happen to be on planet Earth. Bye-bye.